Pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, notice was given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter and of said city, would convene a regular meeting on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at 5 p.m. The Brownsville Public Library Main Branch Meeting Room located at 2600 Central Boulevard, Brownsville, Texas. Pursuant to Section 551.127 Texas Government Code, one or more commissioners or employees may attend this meeting remotely using video conferencing technology. The video and audio feed of the video conferencing equipment can be viewed by the public at the address posted above as the location of the meeting. Members of the public, employees, and the city commission may join via the WebEx teleconference meeting link provided at the WebEx teleconference link provided at the City of Brownsville Agenda Center. This notice and meeting are posted at the City of Brownsville Agenda Center. The members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting hosted through WebEx teleconference can join with the phone numbers provided on the agenda. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form will be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. I have Commissioner Mayor Mendez attending in person, Commissioner Gowan attending virtually, Commissioner Golonsky in person, Commissioner De Los Santos in person, and Commissioner Cardenas in person. So we do have a quorum.
All right, great. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you.
Okay, our first item is invocation.
Pastor, welcome.
Thank you. Let's all stand and for the prayer and remain standing for the pledge. Father God, we thank you for the many blessings we have in the city of Brownsville. And specifically tonight, we thank you for the life of our former sheriff, Omar Lucio. We ask you to bless and comfort his family and friends during this time of his passing and help each one of us to be what we can be to them. Lord, I ask you to keep each of us acting towards each other in such a way that we can be happy with the last meeting we had with somebody. Lord, we ask you to lead and guide all of our government officials from Washington to Austin to right here in Brownsville, and specifically lead and guide our mayor and our city commissioners tonight and everybody that's presenting for the best for the city of Brownsville. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Amen. And now we'll have a short moment of silence where we can all add our prayers to what has already been spoken. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Pastor, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is proclamations. Proclamation designating the month of January 2022 as Stalking Awareness Month, sponsored by Commissioner Golonsky, Pisania, and Commissioner Gowan.
Mr. Golonsky, will you read the proclamation?
Sure. This is a proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, designating the month of January 2022 as National Stalking Awareness in the City of Brownsville. Whereas under the laws of all 50 states, the U.S. territories, the District of Columbia, and the federal government, stalking is a crime. And whereas 6 to 7.5 million people are stalked in a one-year period in the United States, and most victims are stalked by someone they know. And whereas 3 out of 4 women that are killed by an intimate partner have been stalked by that intimate partner. And whereas many stalking victims lose time from work and experience serious psychological distress and loss of productivity at a much higher rate than the general population. In addition, many stalking victims are forced to protect themselves by relocating, changing their identities, changing jobs, and obtaining protection orders. And whereas more victims are stalked using technology such as phone calls, text messages, social media platforms, internet posts, emails, and electronic tracking. And whereas there is a need for great public awareness about the nature, criminality, and potential lethality of stalking. And whereas criminal justice systems can enhance their responses to stalking by regular training and assertive investigation and prosecution of the crime. And laws and public policies must be continually adapted to keep pace with new tactics used by stalkers. And whereas communities can better combat stalking by adopting multidisciplinary responses by teams of local agencies and organizations, and by providing more and better victim services. And whereas the City of Brownsville is joining forces with victim service providers, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Brownsville, Texas, and the United States to observe National Stalking Awareness. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the Charter of said city, do hereby declare the month of January 2022 as National Stalking Awareness Month in the City of Brownsville, and applaud the efforts of the many victim service providers, police officers, prosecutors, national and community organizations, and private sector supporters for their efforts in promoting awareness about stalking, and hereby urge all residents to show their support during the month of January 2022 to increase public awareness and enhance prevention efforts toward the important national problem. Done on this, the 18th day of January 2022. Is
Thank you.
anyone here?
I was gonna ask,
I believe Yvonne Lopez was going to try to attend virtually.
Yes, I'm here. I just want to take a small time and just say thank you for acknowledging the proclamation and supporting this awareness. We all have a role in stopping stalking, and today is just a really great platform to be able to recognize that. So thank you.
thank you.
Our next item is our public comment period. We received no public comment forms. So we can move on to our work sessions. Item 1, compensation analysis presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Carla Cepeda, ODNHR Director. So for today's workshop, it's about an introduction of the compensation analysis. We have Ms. Catherine Reid connected already. So if you are ready, Ms. Reid, go ahead.
Now, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Is somebody going to operate the PowerPoint for me and change the slides as we go?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Here.
thank you. Thank you all so much for allowing me to be here this afternoon and to talk with you about this really important subject. I really appreciate it. Just wanted to give you a brief introduction to our firm. We have been conducting compensation studies like this for Texas cities since we first opened our firm in 1977. We are very knowledgeable about city government in the state of Texas, and also about the market in Texas and in Texas cities, and how that varies throughout the state too. We have a very tailored methodology and approach. We customize everything that we do for our clients. We believe in training the people in your city to be able to conduct studies like this on their own after we've done the initial study. So we are proud that like 70 to 80% of our clients each year are return engagements. Some of them have been my clients for over 30 years. And we're just really pleased to have the opportunity to conduct this project for the city of Brownsville and to work with your staff so that they can do these studies from this point forward. My name is Catherine Ray. I should have started with that. I'm the president and CEO of Ray Associates Incorporated. We're located in Austin, and we really do appreciate your allowing us to be here today. So next slide. I want to tell you just a little bit about what we're going to do. If somebody can click to the next slide. There we go. Good. Okay. So usually when we do a study like this, one of the first things that people ask is, why do we need it? Why would we want to spend money on doing something like this? And you need it because you want to ensure that you're paying your employees correctly. Not that you're paying them the most or more than anybody else pays, but that you're paying them correctly, that you're meeting the market, at least meeting the market, that you're able to attract and retain competent employees to do the work of the city for the citizens here in Brownsville, and that you can avoid costly turnover. Turnover is really expensive, typically anywhere from 80% of jobs' annual pay to 200% of the annual pay is what it costs when you lose somebody and have to replace them, when you look at all the costs. And to treat all of your employees fairly, because we know that you care about that and you want to be fair. So the way it works is it starts and ends with you, the members of the City Commission. You are in charge of adopting the budget. And of course, what you pay your employees has a big impact on the budget because most cities spend between 50 and 80% of their budget on personnel costs, either directly or indirectly. And it works by identifying custom competitors or in most cases, additionally, some cities that are maybe not your direct competitor, but you should be expected to be able to compete with them. And we would not go outside the state of Texas. And we really don't want to go very far from South Texas, because South Texas is its own market in the state of Texas. We want to review total compensation. We're going to be looking at salaries as well as your benefits package, so that we're looking at everything that the city is providing for its employees. And it also works by setting the pay package. At the end, we'll be setting a new pay package and asking you to adopt that, to act on that, as well as rules to administer the new compensation package. And hopefully the result will be that all employees are paid fairly and competitively with the market, that you will have your hiring process be easier and more effective because of the fact that you're paying competitively for your area. And hopefully we will see reduced turnover as a result of this, because employees will know that the commission cares about them and cares enough to invest in them, in their salaries. If we can have next slide, please. Okay, so to initiate the project, we will kick it off today with meeting with you all, and we're still developing the scope in detail and discussing the city's needs. We've done a lot of that over the last few weeks. We are going to have a core committee of staff working with me on this, and also I believe a subcommittee of the council that the mayor will appoint. So we're looking forward to that. And in the planning phases, before the end of the month of January, we want to be sure that we have identified with you the benchmark cities, and we're going to give you some detailed information about that we'll talk about in just a minute to help you make an informed decision. We want to work with the staff and the core team to identify the benchmark jobs, because we'll use about 40 to 45 jobs when we go out in the market. And of course, that's not even half of the job titles that you have, but we'll select those very carefully so that we can get good data for all of the job families that are encompassed here in the city of Brownsville. And we'll begin preparing the surveys before the end of January. Then to execute the project, once we've completed the surveys, and I'm going to be training your staff to do all of this, and I'll be reviewing it as we go. So once we've completed the surveys, we will get contact information from the market cities that y'all have chosen to use in the surveys. We will obtain salary and benefits data by getting the surveys out to all of those cities and giving them a timeline for when they need to return the data. We should, before the end of March, get the data back and have a chance to analyze the survey results. And then as we go along through the process, we will get your agreement or get the staff's agreement, and that'll be in consult with you, I know, on the types of pay schedules that you want to use. We will place the jobs on the pay schedules, and I will train your staff in how to go about based on the market data and on an internal equity analysis that we'll have them do. We have a system for that, and we will provide that to you. I'll teach them how to place the jobs on the pay schedule. Then we'll prepare transition cost schedule or schedules. If we have to look at several different approaches, it might take more than one transition cost schedule. The transition cost schedule basically takes every employee in each department and migrates them from where they are currently on your pay plan to the new pay plan and calculates the cost over the next year to do that. And we will hold a red flag review, what we call a red flag review, with your management team before we go public with any of this, so that if there's anything there after the staff and I have placed the jobs on the pay schedule and calculated the cost, if there's anything there that raises a red flag or an issue, we can address that. We can be sure that we have addressed that and look at that more carefully. And then in the end, the results will be, the staff will prepare a report under my direction and an implementation strategy. We will present the results to you all as the City Commission, and then we'll produce a final transition cost schedule that will implement these changes, and will also have new rules for administering the compensation plan. And that should all be by the end of April. Hopefully that's where we're shooting, and that's what we hope to do. And if you go to the last slide, I want to talk to you just briefly about the comparative matrix that we will be providing. We've been working with the staff already. We've got a few gaps that we're going to fill in the next day or two, but we want to get out to you a comparative matrix of 15 or 16 cities that we think you should at least consider looking at as your market cities. And we will identify in all of those the population, the staff size, the budget size, the tax rate, the ad valorem taxable value, median household income, median housing cost, the services provided, the growth rate over the last 10 years, and the sales tax, current sales tax revenue, and the geographic proximity that those cities are to the city of Brownsville. And then we will ask you to select up to 12 cities. And of course, if there are cities that are not on that list that you felt were really important that they be on the list, well, then you can replace some of the cities that I've recommended with your own choices. And we just want to provide you that information so that you have the opportunity to make an informed decision about which cities we use in this important compensation study. So are there any questions or any feedback that you'd like to give us at this point?
Questions or feedback from the commission?
I'm curious, when do we anticipate those cities being identified and what's the process by which those will be selected?
We hope to get those out to you within the next few days, certainly before the end of this week. We've gotten most of the data that we were going out looking for, but there are a few gaps here and there where we have to contact the cities individually to get that information. So we've just got to fill in those last gaps, and then we can get them out to you to look at. What we did was we looked at South Texas cities, and we looked at first at population and proximity to the city of Brownsville, and then we widened our net and looked beyond that, and then began gathering the additional data that we just went over. So, I think you're going to find it's really helpful to have something like this where you can compare how closely do these cities compare to us here in the city of Brownsville.
And I agree, Catherine. I think the comparison is definitely valuable. I guess what I want to know is when we see this list for the first time, what opportunity will there be for the commission to have input? And if we feel that adjustments need to be made to affect that change?
You have complete authority where that is concerned. I can tell you what cities we're initially looking at, if that would be helpful.
It would, thank you.
Okay, this is alphabetically. So we're looking, currently we're looking at Baytown, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Edinburgh, El Paso, Galveston, Grand Prairie. And Grand Prairie is different. It's in the Metroplex, but it has a lot in common to you all, and I think y'all have lost some employees to Grand Prairie. And then Harlingen, Laredo, McAllen, Mission, New Braunfels, Pasadena, Pharr, San Antonio, and Victoria. Those are the 16 that we're currently looking at.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions?
I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Later this evening, commissioners will be back before you for the mayor's appointment of the subcommittee members that can walk through this journey with us as we conduct the compensation analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next item is presentations. Item 1, delinquent tax report presentation.
Sure.
Just for the presentation. Good afternoon, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. My name is Ariana Curiel. I am an attorney at the Linebar, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson Law Office located here in Brownsville, Texas. I am here to present your delinquent tax ad valorem program for the city of Brownsville. With me today is Ms. Monica Solis. She's an attorney and a partner in our law office. In addition to Ms. Monica Solis, we have Mr. Dino Esparza. He's our local counsel for our Brownsville office. And last but not least, Mr. Mark Moody. He's our client relations manager. So we just want to say that we truly appreciate in representing the city of Brownsville in your delinquent tax ad valorem collections. Mr. John Guevara, who usually see in front of you, could not make it, and that was mainly because of me and my insistence that I mentioned a Brownsville native should be in front of the City of Brownsville Commission. So he finally gave in and allowed me to be here. But again, we are very happy to be here. And I'm going to start with the LIBOR approach. And I'd like to start off with the Linebar approach because we emphasize two basic premises or two important principles, and that is one, working with individual taxpayers to collect delinquent taxes for the city of Brownsville, and two, using the tool of litigation as a last resort to collect these delinquent taxes for the city. You'll see on the screen, it's demand mailing. So that's one of our biggest efforts and most effective efforts that we use in order to collect these delinquent taxes. So this is basically a notice mailed out by our office on behalf of the city of Brownsville, letting a taxpayer know that they are delinquent in taxes. That notice that they receive in the mail includes the delinquent base tax plus penalty and interest that they owe. That notice also mentions our contact information, such as our phone number, address, fax, email, in case they have any questions. And it is so effective since whenever they do receive these notices, we do show a number of calls to our office or visits to our office inquiring about these amounts or what they can do. We are there to work with taxpayers, so sometimes they cannot pay this in full, and the code allows us to do payment arrangements with them and see what they can do. And obviously, if they can pay that balance in full, we will accept that so we can collect those delinquent taxes for the city. Whenever we exhaust all efforts, such as calling the taxpayers or sending these mailings or going to their houses to let them know that they owe delinquent taxes, and after we exhaust all those options, we do resort to litigation. After we decide in filing a lawsuit for the city of Brownsville, we do look at all the interested parties that are needed to be included in this lawsuit. So we do a complete title search for the lawsuit. We include all necessary parties, including maybe lien holders if there's any, and we notice or we notify all the parties of this lawsuit. And once we do that, there's litigation in process. So for your reporting period, we filed 573 cases or lawsuits on behalf of the city of Brownsville, and that was an amount of a little over $985,000. You'll see also non-suits release judgments. We filed 310 non-suits release judgments. So that means is we filed a lawsuit, and so that is not the last resort, or that is not the end for taxpayers, but we filed a lawsuit and we filed a non-suit, meaning they came into our office or mailed in a payment or wired that payment to our office, and so we non-suited that case, meaning we closed out the case. If regarding release judgments, that means is we did file the lawsuit. There's maybe no efforts from the taxpayer to our office or no payments made. And that's when whenever we proceed to a judgment, secure a judgment on behalf of the city of Brownsville. And at times a judgment is secured. However, the taxpayers, heirs, family, or interested parties do come into our office, make that full payment, and we release those judgments. So those were 310 cases or 310 filings of non-suits and release judgments. And that was a little over 26,000, almost 627,000 in amounts. Judgments taken, as I said, we do file lawsuits. However, that is our last resort. But whenever we do, we take it to litigation and we still work with taxpayers. However, we don't get anything back from families or the record owners or heirs. We do secure judgment on behalf of the city of Brownsville, and we took 127 judgments during your reporting period, and that was a little over 337,000, almost 338,000. Pending litigation, you'll see a larger number. That's 554 cases that are pending, and that means the lawsuits that are still pending and open cases out there. Maybe there's bankruptcy cases in there or accounts with deferrals that we cannot touch. However, pending litigation means they are in litigation. However, and for the most part, it is those in litigation and that are still pending. They're being litigated in our district courts here in Cameron County, and that's a little over $1 million. You'll see tax warrants. There's 34 tax warrants that we filed during your reporting period, and that was over 138,000. And pre-litigation activity, those are usually the cases that were just turned over to us and we're working on those accounts. We haven't filed a lawsuit, or we're targeting those accounts for a lawsuit, and those are 47 cases, a little over $45,000. And you might ask, why haven't you moved in filing lawsuit? We're trying to work with taxpayers, and especially during these times, and they might be in a payment arrangement with our office, and the code allows us to work with taxpayers in payment arrangements. So they might be in a payment arrangement. If they default, or maybe they have defaulted, we will monitor those on behalf of the city in order to secure these taxes for the city of Brownsville. slide is delinquent tax collections, and that's why I'm here. So our delinquent tax collections for the city of Brownsville during this reporting period, you'll see these 4 bar graphs. I'm going to start with the left-hand side bar graph. You'll see that was back in October 2018 to September 2019. We collected almost at a 32.8, or at least, or I should say 32.8%. We collected in base tax a little over $1,600,000 on delinquent taxes to the city, in addition to the penalty and interest, which is $567,150 to the city, totaling to an amount of $2,243,792. That was back in 2018 to 2019. Moving on to the next bar graph, you'll see 31.1%. It decreased a little, but not much. But this is during October 2019 through September 2020. This is when the pandemic started. So we did see a drop. Your adjusted delinquent tax roll did not decrease, did not increase. It stayed at $5.1 million. During that time, we collected over $2,111,000. We were at 31.1%. In the third bar graph, you'll see this is your reporting period. This is a reporting period for October 2020 up to September 2021. We collected almost at a 33%, so 32.9 to be exact, which is a great number. Base tax was $1,638,199 back to the city of Brownsville, in addition to the penalty and interest, and that's $558,756. And that totals to an amount of $2,196,955 back to the city of Brownsville. So this is the reporting period. You'll see a small bar graph at the end, and that's a 4.1%. This is for your new reporting period, and that's from October 2021 to September 2022. So we just started that reporting period, and that 4.1 goes from October through November. So it's just October and November. We have not included December or January. We just got those amounts, but it goes from October and November. So we're on a good path as we're at 4.1%, and that's $328,000 back to the city of Brownsville. So we are on a good path. And as I mentioned, you see just a little start. It's collections through November 2021 for that last bar graph. And all these sources are also through the county tax office. The next slide, you'll see delinquent and current delinquent tax collections. And you'll see 3 bar graphs as well. You'll see October 2018 through September 2019. You'll see October 2019 through September 2020, and the reporting period of October 2020 through September 2021. You'll see during our reporting period, $3,024 with $784 went back to the city of Brownsville. And this is just the delinquent taxes along with your current delinquent taxes. And what that means is just the last year that was rolled over. So for example, the 2020 year that was turned over to our office on July 2021. Tax sale activity. So I enjoy speaking about tax sales since whenever I joined the law firm. I think it was just when we hit the pandemic and we turned into real auction, with that is online auctions, which is a great incentive to the city and the county and all our community, and especially our office, since the pandemic did hit and we didn't have to be out there in the courthouse, outside the steps, with everybody smushed and trying to bid on a property. Now we do everything online. And during your reporting period, we had 8 tax sales, so 8 online tax sales. And during those 8 tax sales, one tax sale can have 10 properties, 50 properties, 30 properties, just depends what judgments have been granted and have been signed by the district courts. So we have 8 tax sales, and out of those 8 tax sales, 37 properties belong to the city of Brownsville, or were in the jurisdiction of the city of Brownsville. In navy blue, or navy, is $47,439 that went back to the city of Brownsville, and those were for properties that sold at auction. So we initiated a lawsuit, secure a judgment on behalf of the city of Brownsville. We foreclosed, or we put it up for sale, we foreclosed, and we sold these properties, and so that amount went back to the city. You'll see in green, you'll see a strong property at that $7,923. What that means is we placed it for tax sale. Unfortunately, nobody was interested, so no bids were bidded, if I should say, on that property. However, that's not the end of it. It doesn't mean you're not going to get that money. The code allows us to do a resale, and that property will be placed again at a resale for a second chance, maybe third chance to sell and to get that money for the city. You'll see in the yellow, you'll see 6 paid before, and that totaled to an amount of $27,293. So what that means is, again, we initiated a lawsuit, we secured a judgment, we placed properties for tax sale, these 6 properties. However, the taxpayers, record owners, interested parties, families came into our office and paid these accounts in full before they sold at auction. So that's $27,000 back to the city of Brownsville. And the light blue, you'll see payment arrangement, and those are 17 out of the 37 properties. $14,259 went back to the city of Brownsville for payment arrangements, meaning, again, we initiated a lawsuit, secured a judgment, placed a property for sale. However, before auction, families, record owners, taxpayers, interested parties came into our office and signed a payment arrangement with our office for these properties. The code allows us to help these taxpayers and get into a payment arrangement. By that, I mean split up the payments. However, monitor and accept those payments and collect those monies for the city of Brownsville. Administratively, pool, you'll see in yellow, or I guess a little lime green, administratively pool, that was 2. That amounted for, or that totaled to an amount of $2,144. What that means is one of the attorneys or one of us just pulled these properties. We maybe saw an issue with a legal description, or most of the times it's because they filed for bankruptcy. So we cannot touch them and we cannot sell these properties. However, we will monitor these properties to salvage them and get these monies back to the city of Brownsville. I do want to say that we had one resale during your reporting period, and that one resale included one property for the city of Brownsville, and that was in a total amount of $2,395 in an added amount in addition to this that went back to the city of Brownsville. Other activities. So I did like to say or mention that we do a number of things. I think misconception of collection firms is you just collect money, and we actually do a lot more than that. We work with individual taxpayers, but we also monitor many accounts such as bankruptcy accounts. So there's 128 accounts right now in the city of Brownsville that are in bankruptcy that we cannot touch. However, we do monitor those accounts in case they are discharged or dismissed from bankruptcy, and we try to collect those monies for the city of Brownsville. A total amount of a little over $110,000 are in those 128 accounts that we cannot touch. However, again, we do monitor these accounts regularly. We have a extensive delinquent bankruptcy program that at any time we'll see if they were discharged or dismissed. Taxpayer payment agreements. So we do emphasize a lot payment agreements, payment arrangements. We're here to work with taxpayers. Sometimes we get taxpayers thinking we won't work with them if they cannot pay it in full, and we're here to help them, but we also do want to collect these delinquent taxes for the city of Brownsville. And we have 157 accounts, and we're monitoring these accounts, meaning we have a payment arrangement, say with taxpayer A or Ms. Curiel, me, I'm paying monthly. And if I default, I'll get a notice, I'll get a call letting me know that I have defaulted and I can salvage, or if anything, the next step would be litigation, or if not already in litigation, judgment would be the next step. And we do monitor those 157 accounts for the city of Brownsville and payment agreements. And that is for $155,340 in delinquent taxes that we're monitoring in those payment arrangements. Mailing program. So this is something that we regularly do. As I mentioned, is one of our most effective methods in collecting the delinquent taxes. We send out notices to taxpayers, letting them know that they unfortunately are delinquent, but we're here to help them. And if they can't pay the delinquent taxes in full, we're there to help them as well and just get that payment so we can get those taxes back to that payment back to the city of Brownsville. For the next quarter, we have scheduled 3 mailings. And that for the city of Brownsville, that's going to be in December. That just happened February and March. So we have several coming up. And so delinquent taxpayers will receive this notice explaining this is what you owe, this is who you can call, which is us, and we're here to help you. And we will be scheduling property sales for the city of Brownsville for the next upcoming months. I believe we have one coming up in February. So we're there again. We're located here in Brownsville, and we're here to help taxpayers and collect these delinquent taxes on behalf of the city of Brownsville. I do want to say that we will continue working closely with the commission and its staff, the administrative staff, and letting them know like any changes or updates on the property code or any questions and feedback that they might have in our collection efforts. And just we're available here in our Brownsville office. So we're very happy. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that we truly do appreciate the opportunity to represent the city of Brownsville. And I'm here for any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you. I think you're the first person that actually wants to present to the city commission, is excited about it. Yeah, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Who in the city though is in charge of working with the law firm to keep until, or maybe it's a department to make sure that the caseload, their cases, legal cases are flowing? No.
Our city attorney's office, Mr. Padilla, works closely with Lineberger.
Okay.
And finance as well. Finance works with them on the property tax collections.
Okay. And so, thank you. Then on your information where it said the litigation summary, you said that you filed 573 lawsuits. So that was just in one calendar year?
That is during your reporting period, which is from October 1st through September 30th, October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021.
Okay, so fiscal year 21.
Yes, ma'am.
So of those, say, for example, in the non-suit, how many of those 310 were lawsuits that were filed during that fiscal year?
So it'll be from that amount. You'll see there's an exhibit. It's Exhibit A on in back of the report, and you'll see which ones we have closed out of those 573. I don't have the exact number for you, but I know some of the non-suits are from the 310 are from those lawsuits filed during your reporting period.
So more or less, how long does it take between the time that you initially file a lawsuit until you get a resolution? Say it has to go to court.
Yes, it varies. It really depends on what court it is. If there's 2 record owners or if there's 10 heirs, it just really depends. It could be from 6 months to a year or maybe even more than a year. It depends. It varies. I wish I could give you an exact timeline. It just depends. Sometimes we have deceased record owners and we have an ad litem appointed on the case. Maybe that ad litem is also doing additional work trying to find the heirs. And we want to make sure everybody is notified of this lawsuit. We just don't want to take a judgment, secure the judgment without leaving anybody out. So sometimes it'll take 6 months, sometimes it'll take a year, sometimes it'll take way more than that. From whenever I joined the law firm, I saw some lawsuits from 2018 that were still pending. And it's not that we're not pushing them forward, it's just they're still in district court, we're having hearings, and sometimes taxpayers show up requesting more time, and we're not opposed to that as long as they're making payments. We want to collect these delinquent taxes for the city of Brownsville. However, we do also want to help the taxpayer.
So then going to your bar graphs about how much money was collected and that there hasn't been much of an impact in what was collected because of the pandemic. In reality, we haven't felt the effects of it because it's probably only going to be felt in the future, correct?
It could be, yes.
Well, these bars don't really reflect the impact of the pandemic because of the delay between filing and trying to.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Another question, much more online activity do you get on the auctions versus the physical sales?
We've seen, I don't have a number for you, but it's definitely been more. I can say that from March 2020 that we started online auctions. Prior to that, we don't see as many properties being struck off, meaning that they're not selling. Almost at every tax sale that we've had in the past 8 months, there's no properties that are being struck off, meaning that there's no bids. It's almost every sale that we've had in the past months, maybe one property struck off, compared to when we had them in person at the courthouse steps. It would be maybe 7, 8, 10 that were being struck off. I guess I can't really say why, but I do want to say that maybe online auctions, and we see it. We see some people that we don't know, and it's investors just investing in properties for the city of Brownsville. We don't see who it is until the end of the auction, so we have to give the deed. So I would say it's just investors, and we've seen an increased number in tax sales, online tax sales.
Any other questions?
on the amounts to the city of Brownsville? Is that net? Or is that before fees are deducted for collection?
This is not, it would be I'm not sure, but
All right, you can get back to me on it.
would it be net? I'm sorry, what was the question?
If the fees that you guys are reporting as the money that came back to the city of Brownsville, is that the net amount that came back, or is that before fees are deducted for the collection?
That's the total amount that the city received. That's does not include.
Very good, thank you.
Any additional questions? I'm sorry.
All right, well, thank you.
All righty, thank you.
Our next item is consent agenda items 1 through 7.
We have any motions?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passed.
I'll abstain because I think there's one that might be second vote or a second reading of something that I was involved in.
Okay,
Just abstain from it altogether.
okay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Our next item is public hearings. Item 1, public hearing and action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2021-009 to amend the zoning map from residential single-family R1 to commercial corridor CC for Lot 1, Carlton subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 1 Carlton Drive, Brownsville, Texas, 78521, as shown in Exhibit A, District 2, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, Martin Vega with the Planning and Development Department. Before we proceed with at least the first two items, I do want to mention that the property owner did make a request to remove or to table two items, the first two items on the agenda. So it's up to the commission if they want to proceed with that request.
Are you the property owner?
Yes, sir, I'm the property owner.
Sure, just come on up. Come on up really quick.
I'm sorry. My name is George,
Yes, sir. Just come up to the podium, please.
George Garcia.
Yes, sir.
The reason for the request, I had mediation at work. I asked for permission to leave early, and they barely let me out at 4:30, so I'm here.
Okay, so do you want us to proceed on it then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So I'll first provide some sort of history on these first two items because it's going to be to an extent presented together. Items 1 and 2 on the public hearing items, they're owned by the same property owner. So starting with the first case, it is for Lot 1 on Carlton Drive. And so the applicant is looking to rezone the property from R1 to commercial corridor for the purpose of building a retail plaza. It is fronting Boca Chica Boulevard. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, this is the zoning map. What predominates within the area is R1 single-family dwelling. There's some residential estate to the south across Billy Mitchell and Boca Chica, and there's some commercial to the west of the property and southeast. Next slide. This is a 200-foot buffer map. There were 15 mailouts. There were 15 opposing properties. I do want to point out that this is a protested case. It resulted, as we will see on the next map, as a 42% contested area. So it will require a supermajority vote.
So then, just to confirm, you sent out 15 letters and all 15 letters that were sent out were against it?
Not exactly all 15 letters, but in the written protest that we received, 15 properties that will be depicted on the following map were contesting the
I
case.
didn't see the list, okay.
Yes.
¿Qué tamaño es el solar? Or wait.
Well, specifically looking at the corner lot that, for this particular item, it's about 0.23 acres, so roughly 12,000 square feet. So this is the street view. right on the corner of Carlton Drive and Boca Chica. Next slide. The bird's eye view. And as you can see, what predominates is single-family zoning or single-family use. Next slide. So going back to the history, this case actually started back in October with the Planning and Zoning Commission. At that time, on October 7th, it was tabled due to lack of information. The commission wanted a site plan to be submitted to be able to make a more concise decision. It was submitted also due to personal reasons from the property owner. It was once again tabled on December 2nd of last year. And finally, it was presented at the Planning and Zoning Commission on January of this year, where a decision was made by the Planning and Zoning Commission on a split vote. And so this is just, it's not a site plan that's set in stone, but it's a proposal that the applicant is submitting to staff. Now, we do want to point out that the UDC, in order to protect and provide predictability to residential adjacent uses, does require a buffer between the proposed commercial structures and residential uses, which next door will be a duplex, and we will be presenting that on the following item. So although it does meet the 40-foot buffer, one of the conditions or one of the concerns brought forth by the neighbors was that the entrance not be placed on Carlton Drive. Now, we cannot determine that right now because Boca Chica is a state maintained highway. So we cannot speak for tax dot in order to see if it will be allowed or not. So can we go to the next slide? So the request is not consistent with the comprehensive plan and future land use plan. Staff did recommend denial to rezone from residential single family R1 to commercial corridor. PNZ did approve the request.
Okay.
3-2 with one.
And the next item is, do you want to present this item?
Yes, we can go ahead and present the next item, so.
Ay, wait, Martin, is there enough space in that lot so that if TxDOT were to grant them the ingress and egress through Boca Chica, that they would have enough parking or you said it was a strip, right? That was their idea?
Right, so it's difficult to know right now because we will also have to factor in what uses will go in that retail plaza. Because let's say an office is not the same as a restaurant, for example. It doesn't require the same amount of parking. So there's things that have to be first considered in order to make a concrete decision. Will you be reading out?
Yeah, I'll read the item. Public hearing and action on first reading on ordinance 235-2021-010 to amend the zoning map from residential single-family R1 to residential suburban R2 for Lot 2, Carlton subdivision, Cameron County, Texas, located at 20 Carlton Drive, Brownsville, Texas, 78521. As shown in Exhibit A, District 2, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
All right, so pretty much the same history. It was presented since October, has been tabled multiple times. The rezoning being requested is going from R1 to R2 for the purpose of building a duplex. This lot in particular is a little bit smaller than the corner lot. Next slide, please. Again, predominant zoning residential, residential estate to the south and commercial corridor to the west and southeast. Next slide. Again, 200-foot buffer map, 15 mailouts, and also 15 opposing properties. This one actually resulted in a higher percentage. Next slide. It was 53%. And this is the street view. Bird's eye view. And again, the site plan showing on lot 2, the proposed duplex.
That would be the only duplex on that street.
There are other duplex on that street, however, based on research done by staff, those other duplex used to be single-family homes that were converted without a permit. So that they're not legal structures per se, but they do exist as a duplex use. There's actually 2 of them.
At the front of the street or
Oh, not towards the end.
way in the back?
Next slide. Again, staff did recommend denial to rezone from residential single family R1 to R2, and P and Z did approve the request on a split vote.
What was that vote?
Yes.
3-2 with 1 abstention.
I'm very strongly against it because not only because the neighbors are opposed to it so overwhelmingly, but I feel like the area is too small to be having a duplex there. And also the curb cuts are very concerning to me because we don't know if TxDOT will grant those curb cuts into it and then if it will lead into that neighborhood, which is a potential disaster for those homes that are there. It's an older neighborhood. It doesn't have the best drainage. We work with what we can. Very often we have to clean out the ditch that's behind it. But, the moral of my story is I don't think the infrastructure of that neighborhood is built to be accommodating traffic like that. I don't think it should be against neighbors like that. I wish that there would be, single family homes on those lots like the rest of the neighborhood. They do such a great job maintaining that neighborhood. It's one of the oldest ones. For years and years, it's been so well maintained. But I'm very against it for that reason. But I also do stand with the neighbors. If that was my neighborhood, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want a business cutting in, in front of my home, next to my home, where my children are playing. So that being said, very often I do see children playing there along the sidewalks and whatnot. So I couldn't do that to those kids.
All right, any questions?
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on the item? Please come forward.
Mayor, to clarify, we'll do public hearings on each one, just to.
Yes.
Individually, let's start on one, I guess.
Yes.
It's coming up.
Mr. Leal? It's probably.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my name is Martin Leal. Even though I'm not that old, I'm probably one of the oldest residents of that neighborhood. I moved there in the summer of 1968, the last century. I grew up there. My children have grown up there. I have plans for my grandchildren to grow up in that area. It's, like I said, it's a very family-oriented neighborhood. We have discussed it among ourselves that we have no problem with the single-family units being built there to maintain the integrity. But given some of the events that have happened on Billy Mitchell just recently, where a lady was killed because of traffic issues, we don't feel that if TxDOT was to deny the opening and the traffic would be diverted to Carlton, that would put our families in danger. So I'm asking that because we are an established neighborhood, and like I said, that neighborhood was in existence even before I was born. It's an old neighborhood. It's an established neighborhood. I'm asking the city commission to please consider keeping it a family single unit and let us continue to live our lives in peace and, continue to be taxpayers. Right? Thank you.
Mr. Leal, just to confirm, the neighborhood or yourself is again opposed to the duplexes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, like I said, we have no problem with single family. We're trying to maintain the integrity, the recess of the houses. If it's duplexes, our understanding that the property can go all the way up to the street to a certain area, and that would, again, interfere with the aesthetics of the neighborhood. We would, like I said, I grew up on that street when it was caliche. And then it paved. I learned how to skateboard on the new pave. I know my dad got after me because I put a dent in the new freshly laid asphalt. But like I said, it's a lot of families there. It's a neighborhood where families go settle down and make their lives there. It's not a transient neighborhood. It is an established neighborhood. So if you can please keep it. Yes, sir.
You commented if TxDOT were to deny it, what if they were to accept the entrance through?
It would still create it would disrupt the aesthetics of it, of the neighborhood. It would disrupt the peacefulness. And the thing is, it's also, we don't know if TxDOT will approve it. And once you change the zoning, we're stuck with whatever it is. So the safe bet right now is better to err on the side of caution and to maintain it a residential area. I mean, like I said, we have no problem with residential housing units being built there. That's what we want. We're actually looking for people to build houses there, to come and build a home in our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, I believe you were going to speak as well.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is George Garcia. I'm the owner of Lot 1 and Lot 2. My wife and myself purchased these lots 11 years ago. We bought them with the intention of building some type of commercial. Like the gentleman just mentioned, he's got a house there right next to Boca Chica. That house that he lives in was probably built 50 years ago, when there was not very much traffic like there is right now. If I were to build a house on that lot, more than likely, nobody would want to live there. Speed limit is 45 miles per hour. There's a lot of cars, a lot of trucks, buses, 18-wheelers going at 45 miles per hour. It's very dangerous to have a house there and have somebody living. From Four Corners all the way to Carlton, there's only 2 residential homes where he lives and 1 right next to Four Corners. Everything else is commercial. That reason I'm asking that the zoning be changed.
I'd like to clarify that that's not necessarily true, because I live on Acacia Lake, which is a little bit, and at the corner of Acacia Lake, there's a residential home there. There's on the other side of Boca Chica, on the south side of Boca Chica, there's quite a few homes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm talking about my side. On the north side, from Four Corners all the way to Carlton, there's only 2 houses. Everything else,
Have you
vacant or it's commercial.
Have you considered that TxDOT is going to put the median, though, along Boca Chica from the Four Corners to Minnesota? So it would also affect access to your property if you were to do it building like a commercial strip.
I have not considered that.
Well, just something to consider also, because it would affect your business.
On those,
I'm sorry. Again, in my opinion, the highest and best use is some type of commercial. Again, if I build a home there, nobody's gonna want to live there. It's gonna stay there and I'm gonna lose it.
on those other properties that you mentioned from there to Four Corners being commercial, do all of those front and exit to Boca Chica
On
on the north side?
on the north side, there's, see, Carlton is like a U. It both end up on Boca Chica. If you go around, You got commercial on both sides.
Yeah, no, his question is, does everybody enter the businesses on that north?
No, one
Through
of
Boca Chica.
they go in through Carlton.
Yeah, I see that. Little big ones, daycare center.
Yeah, I think your question, Commissioner, was whether anybody enters through Boca Chica.
All the other businesses, if they're fronting Boca Chica, because I think the question here is whether or not this one will be allowed to front Boca Chica, and we don't know that yet. TxDOT hasn't given us the information. I think that's one of the department's concerns, is what it sounds like.
Right, on the other side of Boca Chica, I'm familiar with some of the commercial buildings. And they do have access, they got entrance to Boca Chica and also through the side street, the residential road.
Mr. Garcia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's next to that little big daycare center?
By law, the daycare can't exit on that one.
I got it.
Mr. Puente.
Good evening, gentlemen, Mayor, Commissioners. About 90% of the businesses on Boca Chica, or the area that you guys talking about, 90% they exit and enter through Boca Chica. And there are exceptions like the stripes. They also have entrance to Boca Chica and through a side street. But most of the businesses there, 90% of them, they have the Boca Chica entrance. Not only that, on this property, we try to comply as much as we can with the ordinance, with the building department, and also with TxDOT. That's why, as the entrance is being pushed as much as possible away from the corner of Carlton. Now, on the drainage problems, we have to comply with the city of Brownsville on retaining most of the water in the property and let it go. So the drainage, landscaping, buffer things that we gotta do to this property to make it commercial are going to comply. Right now, as a preliminary drawing that we showed to you guys, it's about 90% there. Yes, the question is TxDOT. I don't see no problem why TxDOT will not give us an entrance through Boca Chica. Being the fact that also they know that because on the past, we had worked with them in a corner like that, it becomes a residential entrance. They really think about it, how we can fix the problem. They have given us an entrance to the main street. Also, they trying to avoid being commercial, entrances through side streets that lead to a residential area. Any questions on the drawing?
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else? Come on up and just please tell us your name.
I just wrote something down, it's easier for me.
Sure.
Carlton Drive. I've been there, I don't know, about 35 years as well. My family has really enjoyed living in the neighborhood. My children grew up here, now my grandchildren. It's a residential area with the exception of a small business on the backside of Carlton. We have presented at the last meeting some of the issues that have arisen from that business, including increased traffic and pollution. At our last meeting, it was mentioned that we want to live right on those two proposed lots. I respectfully disagree. I myself would love to have a home there. And I know many people who love the area, would love to live in that neighborhood, in those lots. But they're not for sale, that I know of, they haven't been for quite a number of years. If you're familiar with the area, Carlton Road is located right off Boca Chica Boulevard. Currently, there's not too many cars on the picture that park outside the street that's there, where everybody can do themselves, quiet neighborhood. On Boca Chica Boulevard, there are many homes, both heading east and heading west, that make the city a beautiful place to live. Also on Boca Chica Boulevard, adjacent to Carlton Drive, there's other streets that are residential, like Cowan Terrace West, Cowan Terrace East. Those are all residential. They're beautiful older homes. This is an area that we are so proud of. We wish to remember it to stay that way. The proposed business and duplex lots are immediately to the front of my home. I ask that you please think of this proposal as if this were being built in front of your current home on your neighborhood or your neighbor's home. Think about how it would affect your family and neighborhood and your daily life in the world, getting out, taking your children. I ask that you consider our request to keep Carlton Drive as a residential area. The proposed business plaza and duplex, it will bring increased traffic and increase the number of people coming and going out of their cars on the parking lots into those two lots. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Ms. Glenda Garcia. I also want to point out that within the last 2 days, I was able to pick up a petition in reference to supporters about the restaurant and the duplex. I only had 2 days due to a family issue, but a lot of them use that area as day commuters, and they were very excited. And I also feel that this restaurant, the business, the plaza will bring opportunities to many in the area. A lot of the supporters did mention that they were excited. They feel that more restaurants should be or are needed in that area. Well, I submitted the petition. I'm not sure if you guys received it.
City Secretary's office received it.
Okay. Just to clarify though, ma'am, how many of those people were from the neighborhood?
From that specific neighborhood, we don't have any, but from the area within, I want to say within 3 to 5 miles, there's a lot of them.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir, come on up. Please just tell us your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Guadalupe Carrillo, and I'm a resident of Carlton Drive. Most of the residents on Carlton Drive are over 65 years old, including myself. Some have lived for over 40, some are 50 years. Have lived there in that neighborhood. We are fortunate to have 4 residents right now that are 90 years. There's a lady that's 92 years old, still goes to daycare. Every morning, 7:30, they pick her up, making it difficult for many to attend. We're retired educators, government employees, and disabled veterans. Throughout the years, we have had issues with poor water pressure, drainage, sewer backup. In fact, the sewer backup that happened during the summer, people were like, older people were getting there older. It was terrible. And traffic encroachment due to the existing commercial plaza already adjacent to Carlton. That commercial property is right behind my home. And my home has started twice already. Because that particular commercial, they picked up the alley, raised up the alley, they paved it. I don't know if it was done illegally or illegally, but that forces my home to flood every time it rains. But we love living in this neighborhood. We feel that adding a duplex and commercial area will add more pressure on our weak infrastructure, and the projected traffic increase will disturb our way of life. Most Carlton residents have responded by signing a petition, making calls and writing statements to the City of Brownsville Planning Department. This is one of the multiple hearings that the city has scheduled in reference to these 2 lots. The City of Brownsville Planning and Zoning have recommended that the request be denied, but the city planning commissioners have not accepted what the majority wants. One planning commissioner even stated that he voted in favor because it would create revenue for the city. We respectfully ask the City of Brownsville Commission to deny the request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
One more back there, Mayor.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Denise Ortiz. I'm also a resident of Carlton Drive. I lived here my whole life, and my children are also growing up in this neighborhood. And we are also against having a commercial property. Residential, if they want to build single-family homes, that is perfectly fine. But I do agree with the previous residents and what they were saying of the drainage, the traffic, it has become a problem within the past few months. Also having flooding in my home due to drainage. It is a very peaceful neighborhood, and we do like it how it is here. As the gentleman said earlier, there's a lot of elderly that live here, retired people. I know we had signed a petition also being against having a commercial property, and I would like them to consider the denial of having a commercial on this street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Angelita Leal, and I am right across the street from 1 Carlton Drive. Whether the city decides to grant them permission, which we hope that it is denied, we would love to keep our area single. And as he said, our neighbor also mentioned, we're getting a lot of retirees. I was looking forward to retirement at the end of the instructional school year. And I love being at home. I'm a homebody. And to see another restaurant or whatever it becomes, if it becomes anything other than a single family home, we would love to have new neighbors. Mr. Garcia stated that who would want to live there? Then why would he want to put duplex if nobody would like to live there? A single family home would be perfect. We would enjoy new types of neighbors that way and enjoy our retirement without the flooding of more traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing. Oh, city manager, if you can take note that every single person that came up talked about the drainage. That's a hot spot that we've been trying to really yourself.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close public hearing. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, do we have any motions from the commission?
To deny the request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Of which one?
Oh, the first one.
First, we have a motion and a second to deny the request is on item 1. Do we have any discussion? Those in
Yeah,
favor?
I have,
Mr. Allen?
I'm looking on Google Earth because nobody really answered my question. It seems like everything on Boca Chica is commercial except for that one home.
On that side of the street?
On that side of the street, yes. Now, those lots look a little bigger. Are they bigger or is it just a picture?
Which lots in particular? Well, the corner lots right on the entrance to Carlton, they are actually a little bigger than the ones that go into the interior of the subdivision.
No, I'm talking about the one on the corner because we're on one right now. So let's.
On that side, Commissioner, you're gonna have Carlton, then you're gonna have Cowan Terrace, and you're gonna have Clubhouse. And it just goes on and on and on residential the entire way all.
Yeah, no, but right there, Commissioner Tetro, it's where that truck thing is, whatever that is. I don't know. There's something white.
It's in
Trailer.
Okay, so then there's a home, right? It's Carlton, then there's a home. Then there's a business that says, one of them says for rent, the other one says La Fragata.
It's actually placed inside the neighborhood. It was done for you.
And then the next one is a business as well. But then is that a home or what is that?
A home.
It's a daycare.
Daycare. Oh, it's the daycare. And then what's on the other hand? That's a home? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, and
Any additional discussion?
just to clarify, I want to make sure Commissioner Acanas said we needed to, but because it was a motion and a second to deny, it in fact you have to have 6 votes to pass it because of the petition. So that in fact makes it.
Okay, but I still got to take a vote.
You have to take a vote. I just want to.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second to deny. Those in favor of denial?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Please list me as abstaining.
Okay. Commissioner De Los Santos is abstaining.
So are we gonna close public hearing on the next item?
You need to take it individually, yes.
Okay, so I'll-
Open it officially.
Well, yeah, this is a public hearing on item 2. I just want to give anybody an opportunity because this is a separate item.
Well, what happened on one? It was,
It was
Denied.
It needs 6 votes to pass.
It's 6 votes to be approved.
Oh, so it's gone. Okay.
This is item number 2, which is specifically the duplex. Is there anybody who has not spoken that wishes to speak on particularly to this? Okay, is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Or a motion, is there a second?
Second.
So a motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes, on the duplex, I agree that it's tough.
This is a closed public hearing.
Okay, go ahead.
Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the hearing,
I'll make the motion to deny.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second now, Commissioner? Any questions? Any
Yeah,
discussion?
No, nothing, no more.
Good.
Second it.
We have, and Commissioner, just to clarify, this is a motion to deny?
Motion to deny.
Okay, we have a motion to deny and a
And a
second.
second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right,
And 1 abstention.
that as well, and Commissioner Dos Santos will abstain. Thank you all for coming and speaking. Thank you.
And City Secretary, you got me as voting aye, correct? Because I voted in favor of denial for both of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 3?
Item 3, public hearing and action on first reading on ordinance number 235-2022-001 to amend the zoning map from agricultural AG to commercial corridor CC for agricultural to commercial corridor CC for 2.525 acres of land, more or less, out of Block 24, San Carlos Estates, Cameron County, Texas, located near the intersection of FM 803 and North Expressway, Brownsville, Texas, 78575, as shown in Exhibit A, District 3, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
So this case is to upzone from agricultural district to commercial corridor for the purpose of constructing a retail plaza. It is fronting North Expressway. Next slide. The area surrounding is zoned ag. However, on the ground, there are commercial uses to either side of the property. There is also some residential corridor to the northwest and residential, I'm sorry, regional center to the northwest, and some commercial and residential to the northwest as well, being the recently approved Maleta development. Next slide. This is a 200-foot buffer map with an aerial. There were 2 mailouts and 0 written opposition. This is a street view. Bird's eye view. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and future land use plan. The case is supported by both staff and P&Z to rezone from agricultural AG to commercial corridor. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on the item? Is there a motion to close?
I'll move to close.
You have a motion to close? Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So opposed? All right.
Move to approve.
Move the request.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Items for individual consideration. Item 1, consideration and action to award grant administrative services RFP number GAS-14-0122 for American Rescue Plan Act funding allocation to Grant Works Incorporated in the amount of $1,885,750. Financial Services Department.
Hello, good afternoon. Happy New Year. 18 days later, but Happy New Year to all of you. I haven't seen you. So hope your year is going well to all of you. Wonderful. So if you want to move to the second. So I'm going to go through a very short presentation, about 5 slides, and then we're going to have Grant Works help us and let us know what they do and tell us a little bit about their firm. Okay, so let's move on to that slide right there. So just the second paragraphs there is just a little bit of history. On March 11, 2021, President Biden signed into law the 1.9 trillion economic stimulus. Of the 1.9 trillion, the city of Brownsville got 65.2 million of it. Of that 65, we already got 50% in our bank, and there's another 50% coming this year. So very excited. It's a lot of money, right? We do have a lot of money in the bank to be used. And just to mention some of the projects that we are, or you guys commission have allocated to, is one of them being the downtown water and waste water project. Without a doubt, that project is going to help the downtown beautification that we're working on. Los Tomates, the natural retention facility, another one, right? We're getting a rain event, maybe 2 a year, the last few years. So other than our citizens, our public work folks are going to be very excited about that. So very excited about that project. And to mention another one, the sewer infrastructure project. Just another one, about 50-year-old infrastructure that we get to work on. The broadband, right? Can you hear me now, right? Are we going to be connected now, right? We are going to be, this is going to take us to the next level, right? So another great investment. I see it as an investment in the city. So without a doubt, these are great investments to the city, which in the future will bring obviously more property and sales tax revenue, which is our two main sources of revenue for the city. And with that, that means more investment into the city. So great projects. Now, I was thinking about this next bullet point that I have here, and I was thinking about a phrase that Aunt made on Spider-Man. I don't know, you saw Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So the same applies to us, right? It's a big responsibility handling this much money. So we want to make sure that every penny that we spend is an allowable expense. Any procedure that we follow is an allowable procedure within the ruling that they're putting out there. Okay, so again, it's a great responsibility. On paragraph number 3, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did. So we went out for advertisement, for proposal. We created a 3-member committee and 2 observers. I was one of the observers during these interviews. We evaluated their proposals. We interviewed each one of them. We got a total of 3 back. So we interviewed 3 firms. Again, during our conversation with the committee members, we were thinking, what are we looking for? And what we're looking for is for that partnership. That firm that we use the partnership, not only the skill set, but also the one that we know we're going to work with for the next 3 to 4 years, or maybe 5 years, right? So we were very clear about that. So with that, just some history here. So we interviewed one of the firms, the first firm we went through, very capable of doing the work, but there were 3 firms involved. So instead of talking to one firm, we were going to be talking to 3 firms. So we decided, you know what, that's not the partnership that we want to be in. So we say no. So there was another firm, very large CPA firm also that we interviewed. To me, it seemed like they added a service. They knew there was the need for the ARPA administration, so they added that service. They didn't have that much, or probably none, presence here in Texas. So we say, no, that's not the partnership we're looking for. So we move on. Then we interview Grantworks. So at first, we went through their presentation. They hit every point that we were looking for. That's the skill set that they have. This is what they do on a day-to-day operations. They do have heavy presence in Texas and within our region. So, and they also have, and we learned that during the interview, they also have an attorney in Washington who's feeding them information when there is a new ruling or something's happening there. So they're well prepared. So that's that. Let's go to, oh, we have slide number 3 already. Okay, cool. So the message here, three things to look at. Why do we need the assistance? How this is unique in ARPA funding complexity, right? So just why do we need assistance? 65.2 million. It's a lot of money. We, as a staff, we are already handling a lot of federal grants. We already have a lot of work in our hands. So that's, yeah, that's that. On the unique, this is a newly created assistance program that I believe the ruling was released on January 6th of this year. So Feliz Dia de los Reyes, right? So that ruling was released, and so it's new. Complexity. It does, I mean, this list could go forever, but just so you know, we gotta make sure that all our expenses are in compliance. We follow all the federal and local standards. That way we procure is the right process that we had to do. You know, the enhanced, we gotta do quarterly and programmatic reporting. We gotta monitor our subrecipients, right? And before I move on, something that I wanted to mention that I missed on the previous slide is that the last thing and we know this is gonna happen, it's a lot of money. So in about 3 to 4 years, we're gonna have the federals looking at their pocket and probably saying, we need some money, let's go and audit some of the money that we gave out. So they're gonna come and look at what we did, right? And making sure that, and see what they can find, right? They're gonna look at our procedures, our allowable costs, and see if they can disallow any money. So last thing we wanna do is that at that time, we had to pay back $5 or $10 million. So we don't wanna do that, for sure. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, on this slide here, let me have it here, because I can't see over there. Yeah. So just gave you a graph perspective of what the ARPA fund money is. It's 65.2 million, right? In average, the city administers anywhere between 21 to 34 million. So adding this ARPA money into what we are already doing is just to stress everybody up more, even more, saying we don't have the capabilities. So just wanted to show that's adding almost double the amount of money that we do yearly. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide here is basically what on the grants, more or less on the grants that we do, it allows for some administrative costs. So as you can see, there's about 20, 10%, 15%, anywhere between 7.5% to 20% is what those funds allow. GrantWorks is offering a 3% at 2.9% of the total amount, of the total value. So it's very competitive with the other firms that we also interviewed. So next slide, please. And this is the reason why we are recommending to award GrantWorks this administration. It will augment our staff capabilities, our finance, procurement, and grants department. They will augment our basically adding bodies to the city. They will assist on the development of management of financial process and grant reporting. They also, another thing that these guys have is that they're not only gonna look after our monies, but they're also gonna look at what is available, what FEMA has out there that we can use within our projects. So they're also gonna be an extra eyes looking to see if they can bring some more money for us. So not only managing and administrating, but also looking at that. With that, finish my presentation here, but I'm gonna have our Grant Works reps here to tell us a little bit about the firm. Bruce, you wanna take it on?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Bruce Spitzlingle. I'm president of Grant Works, the company that was created in 1979. We have grown substantially over the years to where we are working with over 400 different cities and counties across the state of Texas. So we are a Texas company. Our primary headquarters is in Austin. However, we do have offices across the state. We have people working for us in McAllen, in Weslaco, and in Weslaco, we have an office that's working with the General Land Office Hurricane Disaster Recovery Program with the Housing Assistance and Reimbursement Program known as HARP. GrantWorks is, very pleased to have an opportunity to speak with the commission this evening. We have a very long history of working with cities and counties to assist them with various federal programs. And this new program, ARPA, they have come out with a tremendous amount of guidance, and it still requires interpretation. You want to be sure that you are on the right track, that your projects are eligible and are implemented in a manner that fits the requirements of the program. Now, what I'd like to do is go ahead and turn this over to Ken Pevovar, and he'll speak a little bit more about the ARPA program.
Good evening, everybody. Just making sure you can all hear me.
Yes.
Okay, I'm Ken Pavovar. I'm a Senior Vice President of Program Management with GrantWorks, and I was one of the key people that helped create the ARPA department, which is now serving over 160 different cities and counties to help with the ARPA funding. Some of the key things that we do when we work with governments is we step in and immediately review any of the funding allocations you've already looked at, and to make sure that any procurement you've done is 2 CFR 200 compliant. It's one of the big compliance issues that we're anticipating is going to occur with the Treasury Department. A lot of the Texas governments don't follow 2 CFR 200 incredibly tightly. They follow local and Texas rules, which leaves you a little bit prone to potential clawback later. So that's one of the things we would look at immediately.
It's different.
And we come up with a plan to make sure that everything you're going to do going forward follows proper procurement. And we help do some itemization and prioritization of projects, making sure they're going to meet your schedules. And what we like to do is come up with a model right from the beginning of all of the uses of your money. It looks like you've done a lot of that already from things that you've published, planned usage of the funds. So one of the things we would do is come in and review that with you, making sure that everything that you're looking to do will fit the ARPA definition. As Bruce was saying before, when we talk about adhering to the program guidelines, especially when you're dealing with things on the infrastructure side, you're meeting the eligibility criteria of other pre-existing programs. That's one of the good things Treasury did, is they didn't try to reinvent rules. They tied their rules to existing programs. It's just that you have to have knowledge of those other programs to ensure that what you're doing is eligible. So that's some of the things that we do right off the bat: come in, review the procurement, look at your eligibility, like I said, and then try to give you a comprehensive roadmap for the overall expenditure of the funds, help you with your reporting cycle to Treasury. And then all of that is incredibly important because unlike most funding sources, no one's vetting your programs on the front end and then giving you funds. When it comes to ARPA, they've given you these the guidance which can be interpreted, and then they're telling you to spend the money appropriately and report. And we know Treasury does not have a large group of people that is going to have the bandwidth to monitor these reports. So it's exactly as someone before said, it's going to come out years from now where they go back and do a thorough review of the projects that you've selected for their eligibility, and then they'll look at the procurement to make sure that everything was expended appropriately. So the risk of clawback is 2-3 years down the road at a minimum, which really shifts the burden from Treasury to the local communities to make sure that these things are eligible and that all of the compliance and regulatory items are met. And that's why you bring in a consultant. That's what we're here for. We're here to manage that process and eliminate your risk.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is, if I heard you correctly, you said in addition to the much needed reporting and expertise that I very much understand considering the complexity of this money, you said something to the effect of you have eyes and ears that will be looking for other grants at the federal level, if I understood you correctly.
Sure.
Can you speak a few words about those eyes and ears?
Sure. Well, what we do is the business model that GrantWorks utilizes. In addition to getting the ARPA expertise, you're going to have someone assigned to your community who is a client services representative. And that person maintains a relationship with people like yourself within the government in Brownsville and looks at what your needs are long-term and looks for other opportunities for you to go after either competitive funds or funds that are going to be formulaically distributed from the government. Because we work in so many different funding mechanisms, ARPA just being one small subset of the company, what that client services rep will do, you'll have a dialogue with them over time, and they'll help you identify funding sources for emerging needs that you have. And that runs the gamut. That can be anything from a FAST grant when they become available for fire, ambulances, trucks. It could be anything. It could be a CDBG program. But as we learn your community more and more and get better acquainted, we can better look for opportunities for you to go after other funding.
Thank you.
Is that all the presentations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we got it.
I'll go ahead and move that we award GrantWorks the responsibility of administering the grant report.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I do have some.
I do have a discussion, but I don't have to go first, but I do have a positive comment. I am going to vote in favor.
Okay, go ahead and make your comment, Commissioner.
So as you know, I've been here a long time. And when I first came to the commission, the city of Brownsville had no grant department. And as a new commissioner, I needed some money to start some programs and such. And so a summer science intern did a project for looking at how additional money could come into the city for programs that had to do with health and wellness. And this young man did a study that looked at 12 cities in the state of Texas, including Brownsville. And then we put his and how they did at capturing grant funds. Brownsville was dead last, and per capita was about $13 per capita that Brownsville captured, as opposed to cities like Abilene that captured almost $1,000 per capita. It is that information that led the city manager at that time to hire 2 part-time grant writers. So it is really stunning after these years to see that we need an expert consultant like this to help us manage millions of dollars that came to the city in different kinds of grant funding. And even more impressive that not only will we have our own grant writers looking for opportunities, but these consultants that just magnify our ability to look for where that money is. And I hope one day soon, Mr. Bernal, that we can look at those numbers per capita once again and compare in the last 12 to 14 years, how has our per capita capture of grant dollars changed in time? Because I would bet it would be remarkable.
Hopefully more than $13. And is that all, Commissioner? Thank you so much. I do have a question. This is ARPA funding, so it was allocated based on certain things, not necessarily anybody going and doing a great job in getting this money. But we had already kind of allocated and earmarked how we were going to use the money on different projects. The 1.8 wasn't on there, so where's that money coming from?
It will have, well, it's an allowable expense through ARPA.
I understand allowable expense.
Yeah.
I think we had earmarked all of the funding.
Yeah.
We had some money in the reimbursable, in the almost $9 million of the reimbursable funds. We anticipate that there'll be some savings there. If there's anything that we would have to supplement, we will supplement it. But primarily, we're looking to take some of that money.
So it wasn't budgeted and it would just come out of the 67?
It's within the $9 million. There's some personnel costs. We use the majority of that for the Westworld Trail.
Right, I remember that.
Add some of that for COVID functions. From that slice, we would look at optimizing what's still pending and not allocated. There's even some monies from about the cultural tourism funding. If that doesn't get allocated, we can use whatever's not allocated and also use from there. The idea here is ultimately, even if we use some general fund monies, the payoff for us is still there just by the virtue of the capital projects that we're gaining. And also, to Rose's point, actually, what we don't want to do is cannibalize the man hours that we have from our grants department that is proactively seeking grants. So it will be a combination of whatever balance or savings we can have from our current ARPA distribution, and then whatever we have to supplement from general fund, because ultimately we would have to do that because this funding has to get reported out. So that overhead will either come from ARPA funding or from general funding. If we use it to hire other staff, we'd rather focus on bringing in specialized support and then trying to use both general fund and some ARPA funding to fund it there.
Do we know the length of time for the project itself, how long it's actually going to take to administer all the funding?
We have it projected through 2026. So that's the current scope that we've laid out in the current agreement.
Okay, so the anticipation is that the grant works would be assisting at this same cost throughout the time?
Yes, they are through closeout of the program, yes.
Okay, how many people do we have in our grants department now?
Good question. Marina would know.
We have 3 within the grants division itself, which is the competitive grants, like the foundation, state, local, federal, and then we have the community development team, which is separate and funded specifically under the HUD programs, which is the CG, ESG, and home.
What I think we learn is that grant writers pay for themselves, so I'd like to see some money allocated to actually hire in-house grant writers in the future. I think that's a good, wise investment, especially if we're willing to pay 1.8 to people from the outside to administer something. I think we really need to consider local people and employees that can actually do this on a full-time basis, advocating for the city.
You mean doing the recording or actually applying to new grants?
Grants, yeah, and departments, like continue to fund a grant to build it, continue to build it and hire people.
That's a good strategy. I think the majority of our staff is part of that overhead that Carlos showed. Every entitlement that we receive has a certain amount of overhead. We pay for most of the staff from that. CDBG has 20%, ESG. General fund, yes. I think the only issue with the ARPA funding that's a bit different is we absorbed the CARES money. CARES money was $10.8 million. We did that in-house. That's not as problematic as 65.2. The issue is, the concern is the recurring cost of hiring staff for this anomaly type number, which is a blessing. It's not the best type of funding to maximize to hire permanent staff. I think from a general fund perspective in our budget planning, yes, that would be the better strategy to use as we look at work and we get the biggest payoff for hiring more staff.
I'm just saying.
To that point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. No.
It's hard when you're virtual. You don't know what's going on. I understand. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, to that point of hiring in-house grant writers, grant writers are very different people because, and I mean that in a good way. It's not just anyone that can write a grant. The writing a grant is an art form, and not everyone has that talent. So what we did many years ago, and then it kind of died away, is we did bring in educators that would teach our folks how to write grants. And if we're going to grow in-house grant writers, which I think is a tremendous idea, I think that you should do some education in-house on how to do that. And that really needs to be ongoing, because the process of writing a grant, as I said, is different than writing a letter to your friend. It's a very important skill and can mean the difference between getting a grant and not getting a grant.
I agree. Any other discussion? Okay, we did have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? I will abstain.
And if, Mayor, if I could add for the record, only be for the benefit of the public, because I know we scrutinized project management so fiercely at the last meeting. I think here, while this is a high dollar amount, when you look at the percentage of the overall that you're managing, this is in line with what it should be.
Yeah, it's about 3%.
2.9%.
Right, well, thank you.
Item 2, consideration and action on cultural and tourism fund allocation for community nonprofits as funded through the American Rescue Plan Act and amendments to the Cultural and Tourism Fund guidelines. City Manager's Office.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Ms. Olga Moya, Grant Manager, will be presenting tonight. These are the recommendations from the Committee for the Cultural and Tourism Fund, which is funded by the ARP funding.
Good evening, City Commission and Mayor. I will be presenting in regards to the Culture and Tourism Fund. Next slide, please. For an overview, the City of Bronzeville has received $65.3 million in ARPA Act funding to combat the ongoing impacts of COVID-19 in the community. Many nonprofit arts and cultural organizations and tourism-related organizations had to cease operations or had their operations severely diminished due to the mandated closures. As such, the city has requested reimbursement and allocated $2.62 million to this fund. Next slide. Here are key dates regarding the process. On October 19th of 2021, the guidelines were approved by Commission. The application was open for applicants to apply November 9th. A virtual informative session was held on November 12th, and an in-person informative session was held on November 16th. The application closed on November 30th, and funding recommendations by the committee were made on December 20th. The committee met several times to discuss applications and funding. I want to take the time to thank them for their time dedicated to the Cultural and Tourism Fund. Next slide, please. So 10 applications were received and 8 are being recommended for funding by the committee. The organizations being recommended for funding are the Gladys Porter Zoo, the Children's Museum of Bronzeville, Revival of Cultural Arts, the Bronzeville Historical Association, the Gorgas Science Foundation, Chattel Days, Dean Porter Park, and the Bronzeville Society of Performing Arts. The total of recommended funding is at about 1.3 million. Okay. On this slide, we have brief descriptions of the 8 organizations and their proposed projects that are being recommended for funding. So again, we have the zoo, the Children's Museum, Revival of Cultural Arts, Dean Porter Park, Bronzeville Historical Association, Gorgas Science Foundation, Chattel Days Incorporated, and the Bronzeville Society for the Performing Arts.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm not familiar. There's Chow Days and Mr. Amigo and then Sombrero Fest. But will Chow Days, and they all were affected by the cancellation of Chow Days last year. Will money go to Sombrero Fest and Mr. Amigo too?
Chattel Days, they did not apply to go for funding for Sombrero Fest and for Mr. Amigo, and Mr. Amigo was one of the applicants, but the committee recommended not to fund that application.
And if I can add to that, Commissioner, Sombrero Festival is a 501c4. And when the commission approved the original regulations, we approved it for 501c3, so Sombrero Festival has not applied. And that may be one of the recommendations that's coming back from the committee.
Okay.
You were on this committee, correct?
I was.
Do you know why the Mr. Amigo one was not, and the Brownsville Fine Arts Museum?
It was based on the type of projects they were wanting to fund with the funds, and the committee looked at it. And I'll say, I sat on the hot tax committee as well. And I tried to be more low key on this one and watch staff do their thing. And had I felt that they were going off the rails at any point, I absolutely would have been more vocal. But staff was quite impressive in how they approached these applications and in their assessments of the projects that the funding was being asked for. And I think they made good recommendations. But yeah, it was based on what the other wanted to spend it on versus what Mr. Amigo wanted to spend it on. That's what the decision.
I kind of heard, you all might be able to correct me, that Brownsville Fine Arts, they want to do something with their roof. I don't know the exact scope of it, but I think they were looking to do something with their roof.
Yes, it was, I believe, maintenance to their skylight.
And I see that Brownsville Historical Association is also talking about a new roof. Was there a difference between it, or?
So for that one was I believe, renovations to the Alonso building. And that was really at the discretion of the committee on what they decided as to which was like a stronger proposal.
Now, I know you all are going to do a second round, and I also know that half of the money is still available.
Yes.
Let me say also, Commissioner, that on some of these organizations that are being recommended for funding, this isn't necessarily 100% of what they applied for. On some of these, it was, they looked at the different projects and they said, these look good, we're recommending funding, and others were not.
Yeah, I believe Gladys due was closer to $1 million. They're getting about half. I didn't look at the rest of them, but the zip line seems pretty cool.
Point, I believe I had heard that part of the consideration for the Fine Arts Museum was that they were already working with internal services on some of their facility needs, which included some drainage on the sidewalk, on the side, on.
They have an issue with drainage, I believe, up next to the building.
And
leaks in.
In fact, their roof already got assessed by.
That is already being worked.
So it's duplicate. In other words, the Alonso building is not part of our assessment. That's a historical property, more for like tourism, historical preservation. The Fine Arts Museum is something that we're covering through our comprehensive assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
On roof needs and skylights.
So we are supporting them just
in the
different programs
with them. So this would be, again, duplicate. That's a more appropriate funding because it's really pure maintenance. I mean, you can tie it to art and tourism, but really it's maintenance should have been done before.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these say, well, not a lot of them, but a few of them do say maintenance, rent, maintenance.
And those that are more maintenance geared toward pure tourism. And again, the Arts Museum, we have a track record of supporting them with their facility needs, and we've already incorporated them in the scope. So JP is working with them, and I even met with them once as well.
Yes, there was discussion on the facility assessment that should be done in a couple of months by the summer for that. That building is part of that. I know the committee also discussed, so there was projects for capital, but also for restarting the organizations, which may include rent.
Okay. I mean, I think it'd be important for us just to give these two who did not get it an opportunity to sit with whoever they need to sit with and be in the front of the line for round two, which I believe you all have to have because of the amount of money that's left. I just think just let's get their stuff done.
So that is the plan, to work with the two organizations not recommended for funding, to apply for the second round if approved.
Yes, it's one of the recommendations, and as well as the updating of the guidelines. Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments?
I have a question on the full-time production manager for Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts. Is that a new position that they're going to be funding?
I think they had that position. I believe it is a new position that they want to get funded. I have the notes here, sorry.
I guess my question is since that's going to be a recurring cost going forward, how are they planning to fund that?
So that was a concern from the committee, was would they be able to sustain that? So, depending on the decision of the commission, if awarded, we would have that conversation with them to find out how they would be able to sustain that position.
I think that's an important point.
Mm-hmm.
But not that I'm against it.
Oh, yeah, definitely, I agree.
It's needs to be sustainable.
Also, I would just say that, since charities is getting such a significant amount of money, that I would like to see that Mr. Amigo and Sombrero Fest are also compensated, that we change the guidelines to make sure that they also receive benefit from that, because each one of them contributes very heavily to this tourism and, you know, celebrating our culture. And that's been so impacted by not having it last year. And I'm still very hesitant this year because of the COVID levels, but I'm just a very nervous person. I'll let you decide.
Let me add to that, Commissioner, and thank you for the consideration, because definitely these organizations bring a lot to our community. But I would say, yeah, award the money if they come forth with projects and efforts that are worthy of the funding, not just because we're Sombrero Festival.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Think of something worthy.
Okay, any other discussion?
We do have another slide.
That's, yes, that was part of the recommendations, which is to have a second round. And then also the one that Commissioner de los Santos spoke to as far as expanding to 501c4. And then another recommendation, the committee noticed the timeline was very restrictive through December 2022. So there is room to expand because of the date of obligation, but under the final rule, we have the final rule now, which was out January 6th, which was discussed by the previous presentation. We would also work with GrantWorks to do subrecipient agreements and make sure that all of these are aligned with this new final rule.
Any other slides?
Thank you.
Okay, do you have any motions?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3, consideration and action for the approval of an updated employee handbook, Organizational Development and Human Resources Department.
So for today's presentation, we want to cover in the highlights and focusing on the discussions that we had the last meeting. So we have some request information here from the work session. So next slide, please.
Yes, let me go ahead and continue. Hello, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Laura Hernandez. I'm the OD and HR Manager here for the City of Brownsville. And tonight we're going to be presenting and covering some of the highlights, focusing on the commission request from the previous work session. This slide right here illustrates the information covered at the last commission meeting during the work session. We included the following elements on the updated handbook. And just to recap, these elements encompass the mission, vision, and values. It addressed benchmarking and best practices, administrative enhancements, and compensation and benefits, and of course, updated and new employment policies. Tonight, we'll be focusing on the compensation and benefits for the part-timers. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this right here is the best practice policy recommendations having to do with part-time employment, employees, and fringe benefits. Currently, right now, part-timers do have fringe benefits, and that fringe benefit is the sick and annual leave accumulation. The proposed recommendation is to discontinue future leave benefits for part-timers, yet allowing them to utilize any accumulated leave until it is exhausted. Next slide. This right here is the employee data that we shared at the last commission meeting during the work session. This slide illustrates the employee status for the full-time and part-time employees. And there are about 649 full-time employees, and there are currently 49 active part-time positions. As per commission inquiries, we are focusing on the part-timers. Next slide. So this right here is a slide in response to a commission request. We gather data for the part-time statuses. Currently, we have a total of 49 active employees, and there are 39 vacant positions. 68% of these vacancies are at a status of being advertised or under review. And the remaining 32% are either pending reclassification or a department requisition. Next slide, please. Again, this slide illustrates response to a commissioner request. This slide right here shows a 5-year average for part-time leave payouts. The range can be anywhere between 14 to 48,000 that the city should see as potential savings. This actually averages out to approximately a little over 30,000 a year. And we included both the sick and the annual because both of these leaves are recommended to be discontinued for part-timers. Next slide, please.
So as I previously mentioned in the last commission meeting, we have departments with high numbers of part-timers. And we represented with this graphic some of the promotions that we have for part-timers to full-time positions. One example for this fiscal year, because this is for the last year. For this fiscal year, we have library that is already working to have a 9 part-time positions to a full-time positions. So we encourage other departments as well to they continue having those promotions in place for part-timers.
Okay. So the next steps.
I think those are common on the slide. The two departments still use the most part-timers are Parks and Library. Library, the past at least two fiscal years, they've been morphing from part-time to full-time positions. And then Parks has actually used more of the seasonal and temporary employment services. So they've used different strategies, but nonetheless, they're making sure that their service level needs are being addressed within the funding that was historically allocated to part-time. And then any savings from vacation and sick leave will obviously go toward supporting their seasonal staff or full-time employees that we'll now have on the payroll.
Thank you. So these are the next steps. We're seeking consideration and approval for the updated employee handbook through resolution. After commission approval, the OD and HR department will take the next 45 days to initiate educational sessions through our learning management platform and to distribute the employee handbook citywide. The educational sessions and the employee handbook itself will be completed both in English and in Spanish. And at this time, next slide, we can go ahead and take any questions.
Do you have any questions?
Not questions, but just a couple of comments I'll make since I asked a lot of questions at the last one. And I did reach out to several city employees for their feedback. First, let me say that they absolutely said that the department has continued to communicate and be open and answer questions. So I applaud you guys for that. I think that's a very good job and that there were plenty of opportunities for questions to be asked and answered. So I think we're on the right track there. To some degree, and I don't blame the department for this, this is more on us, that there is still a sentiment among some employees that it doesn't matter what we say, it doesn't matter what we ask, the commission's going to do whatever they want. That concerns me. And again, that's not on you guys, that's on us at the top. But I think we all need to be cognizant of that. So yeah, continuing to communicate as we move forward with this is important. I understand the cost benefit, but I hate approaching something, especially when you're talking about how someone makes a living from that perspective, only because, and I've seen it in corporate America. You've got corporations that pat themselves on the back with their shareholders in Wall Street because they not only continue to pay dividends, but they're growing their dividends. But behind the scenes, they're eliminating pensions. Bonuses get smaller. Raises aren't as big as they used to be. So, are you doing such a great job if it's on the backs of your employees? And so it's important to me that we take care of our people, and especially when we're talking about the folks who don't have collective bargaining to protect them, even more so. It's important that we take care of our people. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But thank you guys for continuing to communicate and continuing to talk to our people. That's very important to me.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I would just add that I've actually had some discussions with part-timers that have become full-timers, because when we can take existing part-timers and help them become full-time, some have also been thankful about having the opportunity to become full-time. And what we want to do is, I think there's a better quality of life that they could have if they become full-time versus part-time. So for us, it's trying to, I think library is the best example. That we have a lot more full-time employees now from those former part-time positions we used to have.
That's good. Thank you all for doing that.
Okay, so any other comments or questions? All right, do we have any motions?
Move to approve.
Motion to.
Second?
And a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Item 4, consideration and action to move the February 15th, 2022 regular city commission meeting to February 8th, 2022, or February 22nd, 2022, due to the meeting location being used for Cameron County primary election early voting, Office of the City Secretary.
I have a question. When is the commission chamber going to be ready?
February the 22nd.
Oh,
Yes.
So as it stated in your packet, the early voting period for the primary election is February 14th through February 25th. So that would fall during the regularly scheduled meeting time. So the proposal is to either move it to the February 8th date and have it at this location still, or move it to February 22nd. And Enterprise Applications has assured us that the commission chamber should be ready by then.
To February 22nd, 2000.
Second. Is that a midday?
Discussion. Let me remind my colleagues, that is the middle of Sombrero Festival. That's of Char Days week. Char Day starts the Saturday before that and runs that entire week. So there will be a lot of activity the week of the 22nd.
Good point.
I was gonna make that same question, have that same question.
I'm excited about getting into chambers too, but that's going to be a hell of a week.
Okay, so do we have motions?
Yes, I put a motion.
Okay, we have a motion for the 22nd, correct? And then Commissioner Gillespie, second. Any additional discussion?
It's been done, right?
Commissioner De Los Santos want us to move it? Did you want us to move it?
He just was reminding us, giving us a heads up that the 22nd is Char Days.
Will you be able to be there?
Oh, I'll definitely be there. I mean, I won't miss it. It's just going to be hell week for lots of us. I know we all have functions to be going to throughout the week, so.
I don't mind taking it off of, do you want me to strike it?
I move to vote.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay? Nay?
I went aye.
Okay, so there was 4 ayes. Motion passed.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's still gonna be for
For the 22nd.
I tried, Roy, I tried.
No, it wouldn't have. If you had voted nay, you would
Okay.
have been defeated.
We'll make it a quick one, right? Like that meeting?
She did.
Item 5, consideration and action to establish a compensation subcommittee to be appointed by the mayor, city manager's office.
All right, Commissioner Gowan, will you accept the appointment?
Yes.
And then Commissioner De Los Santos and Commissioner Cardenas, we all accept the appointment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So then I'm gonna appoint Commissioner Gowan, Commissioner Cardenas, and Commissioner De Los Santos. The most seasoned member of the commission and the 2 rookies.
3 best ones.
Okay,
Hey.
All right, okay, this is consideration and action, so move to appoint those members. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
okay, our next item is executive session. I'll read the items. Item 1, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney related to pending litigation, City of Brownsville and Raymond Harris, defendants appellants, versus Juan Richer plaintiff appellee, case number 13-21-00219-CV, 13th Court of Appeals, Corpus Christi, Texas. Item 2, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 regarding legal matters associated with the Megamorphosis Architectural and Engineering Services Agreement, Romulus Hospitality Group Management Services Proposal, and Romulus Hospitality Group Pop-Up Concession Stand Agreement. Item 3, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 including a legal briefing related to NRA, City of Mont Bellevue, and certain public securities, CV-30781-344, District Court, Chambers County, Texas, CSHB 1869, and other legal matters related to municipal ownership and operation of broadband.
Okay, we have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Or second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, now go to executive session.
It is now 7:18 PM, and the city commission is going into executive session.
We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, stand adjourned.
Thank you.
There being no further business to come before the commission, upon duly made motion, the meeting has adjourned at 8:44 PM.